Yo, Inca, you want to come out here? It has been probably like a month since the last time we recorded, but welcome back to Incogs Buff Shop. If I sound like I am active or just sound like I'm irritated, I sneezed quite literally like 10-15 minutes ago and my sinuses are fucked. So I do apologize about this scuffed ass intro. However, we're back, and I know I said, like, you know, guys, we might have like camera stuff and, you know, I might be able to do it. I just moved, as most people know, and I have not set up a damn thing for that kind of stuff. So currently we're still doing the reactive Fujitech, the little icons that, you know, show that I'm speaking and stuff. Maybe another time we'll do it. But regardless, welcome back to the Buff Shop. I am your host, Incog, and today we have friend of the channel and friend, or well, girlfriend to my good friend Patrick Matrick, Haley.
Everybody.
And Haley, as we discussed earlier, there's nowhere these people can find you, but tell them a little bit about what you've been up to recently, what you do.
Yeah, so I mean, I am a teacher by day and a Pokemon enjoyer by night. So I mostly create content for other teachers. So you won't really find me in the Pokemon space, but I have been a huge fan of Pokemon, and to age myself, I am a millennial. So I have been enjoying Pokemon since kindergarten. I would go home and watch Pokemon after school. So I'm an OG Pokemon fan, a first gen enjoyer, and overall cute Pokemon enthusiast.
Listen, once I mentioned Patmac, I think they understood that you guys are boomers, if you will.
Are you saying we're old?
Yes, I tell Patmac this all the time.
Wow.
Listen, he could say it to you right now. He could tell you. I literally said it a day or two ago when we were building with Matt. Anyways, more importantly, respectfully, these are two of my good friends, obviously, and Haley's here for the next one. So Haley, you gave me, at first we thought we were going to be doing Cincino, but Haley gave me actually like 3 Pokemon that I'm kind of interested to hear about. What do you want to start with today?
I think Butterfree.
Oh boy.
I think we should start from the beginning because
Okay.
I gave you some original Pokemon and then some newer flavor. But yeah, Butterfree is so iconic. So as an original Pokemon fan, I did grow up watching the TV show, collecting the Pokemon cards, and playing the video games. But I just feel like Butterfree is so iconic, being like one of Ash's original Pokemon. I remember him finding Caterpie, and it was just a really beautiful story of like him learning to like that Pokemon a lot, and then they build a really strong bond. And so since it's such an iconic Pokemon, I was really hoping that it would do well in the game, but it just has so many issues. And my biggest complaint about Butterfree is it dies so fast. And now that there is no longer G-Max, especially, so you can't like increase its health, it just dies really fast. It makes me really sad.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Butterfree doesn't have good stats at all. 90 special attack is the best thing it has, and it gets Quiver Dance, but outside of realistically that, it's really not that good. But what can we do to help out poor old Butterfree?
Well, I think personally, I think that there needs to be a big change to bug typing, but having both bug and flying just really makes it have really, really bad weaknesses. I mean, the 4 times weakness to rock is really rough. And then, I mean, the 2 times weakness to fire, electric, flying, ice. There's so much that it doesn't do well into. So I feel like maybe changing its typing in some way, so that way it doesn't end up running into it. Like, I think that switching it into, I don't know, maybe if it was like a bug fairy type, but bug is just rough in general. I kind of want to see Pokemon shift bug. But I think bug fairy would make sense still. Like, you always see it with like glitter flowing down from it in the series. So I think that it could be like a bug fairy type. But also, I don't know, like its abilities, Compound Ice is cool, but it's not amazing. Like, and it has some cool moves. I mean, it has Tailwind, right? So you can use it in doubles really well for like speed control. I think honestly, if you just made Butterfree faster, like if you look at its base speed of 70, it's not like super slow and it's not super fast. It's just like in the middle. And like, why not just make it fast? So at least then it could become like a special attacker, maybe. But yeah, its defense stat sucks. Like if you're gonna make it bulky, like I don't know, there has to be something that gives it either an aggressiveness to it or survivability. And I feel like Butterfree just has neither.
Of course, yeah, I definitely feel that as well. I think one of the few things that I was writing down for is that, yeah, Bug Fairy's cool, and I think I agree with that. I think the bulkiness of Butterfree just needs to improve. While 80 Speed F is good, 80 Speed F is just okay with 60 HP and 50 defense. Rather, throwing up its HP to 100 and then throwing up its defense to 80 gives it about a few more points to work with. And then maybe increasing its speed maybe up to 80 just to make it a tiny bit faster. So that the Pokemon, it has 100 base HP, 80 defense with the 80 special defense, and maybe even 80-85 speed to make it a little bit better in my opinion. Bug Fairy, and you give it a secondary ability of Levitate so that it's not affected by ground moves, since now that you take away the flying typing, you got to make sure that you at least maintain that it's off the ground, unlike Magnezone, which obviously doesn't get Levitate despite floating off the ground due to its electromagnetism. So Bug Fairy, Levitate with Tinted Lens as well. Combat Knowledge is fine if you want to hit your Hurricanes a lot more, but honestly it's going up to 77%, and at that point in time you're better off just using a different attack. Giving Butterfree now access to Moon Blast since it already had access to Draining Kiss would be great. And lastly, and certainly not least, Butterfree definitely needs that survivability, and I'm pretty sure it gets Roost. If it doesn't, and I know it does, okay, that's good. I mean, it gets Roost. Definitely should have Moonlight since that's also a fairy move, all things considered. But I feel like Butterfree just needs more of its bulk and survivability tapped into. But is there anything else you wanted to say about Butterfree?
No, yeah, I think that's like right along the same line of what I'm thinking. It needs a way to be able to survive longer. And also, like you said, increasing its speed would be great too. Because it's really interesting. It has defog to deal with rocks and some other things. And having a bug type that can actually survive, it makes you really strong because there are some strong Pokemon that are weak to bug. But the issue that Butterfree runs into is it just can't survive long enough. So yeah, if you make it bulkier, you give it a little bit more speed and then give it access to some fairy moves as well to do some damage, I think it'd be great.
I definitely agree with that. So for those of you who might skip to the end of a portion of the talking, we are buffing Butterfree by making it a fairy type, reworking a lot of its stats to make it bulkier. In addition, giving it Levitate just because we want it to be off the ground and be representative of that, of course. But giving it a fairy type, it increases its survivability, making it more neutral towards fire typing since fairies are not weak to fire unless it's the other way around, but I'm not gonna look that up right now. It makes fairies it not weak. Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't think fairies resist fire. I think fire resists fairy, but not the other way around.
Yeah.
It makes it not weak to electric and ice, which is definitely impactful, even from a singles and double standpoint. And definitely makes it so that it basically just quad resists fighting still, while maintaining the fact that while yes, it does become weak to steel and maybe poison in substitution of electric and ice, I'd argue that this makes Butterfree a bit better with the HP and defense increases. Since we're staying in the quote-unquote past or talking about older Mons, did you want to do your second Mon also the Gen 1 Pokemon?
Yeah. So talking about Rapidash, because again, Rapidash doesn't have as iconic of like a legacy in the Pokemon show, but Rapidash is such a cool Pokemon. I mean, come on, it's a unicorn and it's such a cute Pokemon. Both of its forms look great for different reasons, but like my whole beef with this Pokemon is when they created Rapidash, compare Rapidash to Ninetales, right? Is that what it is? I hope it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so like they both have Galarian forms, right? But they both have a traditional form. And I feel like while the original of Ninetales was just okay, the Galarian form was so cool because it gave it access to things like Auroravale and Snow.
Oh,
And
Lord.
I feel like Rapidash just got like the short end of the stick. Like, what is there? Because who cares about a fire immunity? Why? And then access to Runaway? Why? What are you gonna use that for? So, but I also think that it has a really cool ability. It has some cool stuff going for it. I really like the fact that it has these horn-based moves like Mega Horn and Drill Run and things like that. I almost wish that there was an ability available to Rapidash that like boosted horn moves, kind of like how the new fish Pokemon has like a chopping thing. So we've seen that Pokemon has created these like themed abilities for designs of the Pokemon, but I feel like it's 2023. Why doesn't Rapidash get an upgraded version that's related to like horn typed abilities, right? Because I think that could be really cool. It could play into the design of the Pokemon. It has access to horn moves. So why not? I think it could be cool.
I think that would be nice. I feel like, and discussing on the point again, I mean, they both have different forms, you know, Ninetales and Rapidash, where Ninetales is Alolan Ninetales, and Rapidash has Galarian Rapidash, but obviously we see which one is better. Alolan Ninetales is still being used to this day, and you know, Nat decks and even such. Even if it was in the game, it would probably still be used. However, I feel like with abilities, you can come up with a lot of different things. Hold on. Like I said, everybody, my sinuses. Anyways, I feel like you could give it something like solar power, or even in general, as you said, giving it something different that is like the sharpness ability like Veluza has.
Right.
You can give it something like that. I don't know what name that would be. If you leave a terrible comment, because I know what everyone in my comment section will do, you will not be able to comment anymore. But I feel like even then, just give it Drought. I feel like Rapidash would definitely benefit from having Drought. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's a unicorn. And while yes, it can't just make rainbows and other things, I mean, being able to bring out the sun willingly, and you're a fire type like this, I feel like you definitely need it. I also think that Rapidash needs, just like in general, some new moves. I mean, fire is great, gets Smart Strike, gets Mega Horn, gets Poison Jab, and everything else, gets Solar Blade, whatever. But like, Rapidash isn't being used because it's not like great at what it already can. Like, it has good coverage, but it's not bulky. It's not better than like Arcanine or Ninetales, like its other fire types that it grew up with, or even Charizard to that extent, who's got Mega Evolutions. So it's kind of just like Rapidash needs something, and I feel like it seemingly has a lot of coverage. Maybe you make it like 110, 120 attack to make it a little bit more, to give off more, so that it has a lot more attack to work with the attacks it has. I mean, it gets Play Rough, High Horsepower, Wild Charge. It gets a ton of coverage, but it gets no kind of coverage in being used in the competitive scene. So I feel like what we've named, you know, getting Drought, maybe even getting like a Horn ability, since it gets Mega Horn, Smart Strike, and other things where it would boost off of that. I don't know what the name would be, and we're not going to give one here because, once again, you motherfuckers. But
Wait,
you know,
but there's also, you know, I also was looking into the Galarian form because I was like, well, is there some shining moment? Because I love the aesthetic of the like updated one. I was like, it looks like cotton candy with a horse. Like, it's great. And Psychic Fairy is pretty cool too. We've seen a lot of very competitive Psychic Fairy Pokemon, and they're still currently meta. But it's really intriguing because I realized that the Galarian form gets Expanding Force. But why are you giving Expanding Force to a Pokemon that's a physical attacker? Like, why is that so disappointing?
because the Pokemon company, for what it's worth, does not care all too much about certain mons, and it's very obvious they never cared about Rapidash. They said, we'll make it look like this, we'll give it an ability where it can't get poisoned, but after that you're on your own. And it's like, you gave it one of the new moves from a generation, and then you made it still physical. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I think that honestly, you give this thing drought, you give it a little bit more attack, it becomes not like viable, quote unquote, but it becomes more of a usable Pokemon in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's the main important part. We're not trying to make everything broken, but we need things to be less disappointing in our. And that's really the point of Rapidash here, because I mean, I definitely like Rapidash. It's not like my fire type of choice, obviously. I mean, I'm a Cyndaquil guy, but like Rapidash definitely is disappointing. But your last Pokemon, I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to know what you want to do about this, because I feel like this Pokemon is perfectly fine.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
I think that it's good too. So it's not that it's not good. So my last Pokemon of choice is Alcremie. And first, I'd just like to start with accolades. What a beautiful Pokemon. Thank you, Pokemon Company. What a great Pokemon. It's so customizable. The way that you actually get it to level up was like the coolest thing in my opinion. And I liked collecting the different pieces. And the G-Max, in my humble opinion, is the best. I mean, it turns into a giant cake. Alcremie is super, super cool. I really, if you can't tell, I'm drawn to like fairy types, cute Pokemon. But I don't know. I feel like, so Alcremie has really good special attack stats. It has good special defense. Its HP is not terrible. Like, its speed is kind of slow, but I guess like its health balances that out. But I don't know. Think about it. My thing is that Alcremie is kind of like, it can be set up to be a bulky special sleeper, but I just love the ability Decorate, but I feel like it just doesn't get used very like often or well. I feel like Alcremie could just be so much more.
I could definitely feel that. I feel like Decorate, because it's more of a je ne sais quoi doubles attack.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where Alcremie it looks like it could have been made for singles, but definitely, or it could have been made for doubles, but it's like it doesn't do much because one, it's slow, and two, it's like Sweetveil and Aromavale are great. I think it's always going to be using Aromavale, so we don't need to change its abilities any, but like it's super slow. Maybe, and I'm going to say this as a maybe, what if we give it Prankster to take advantage of this? Because you get a lot of status moves, giving it Prankster would make it so that the Pokemon in general can just Decorate on turn one and then be completely fine. Combined with the fact that it's really good special attacking wise, this Pokemon would actually become really, really good really quickly. Just because you get moves like Imprison, Fake Tears, the Screens moves, Charm. Obviously you get Misty Terrain, Entrainment, Acid Armor, Encore, and obviously the aforementioned Decorate. Like, you can really make this Pokemon better by just shifting one tiny thing, and then it becomes a doubles menace.
100%. That is exactly what I'm thinking. And when you give a Pokemon that cool of a move, and it's like, you know, if you're gonna give a Pokemon a signature move, and it's so good. I mean, Decorate, come on, and it's literally like whipped cream, and then it turns into a giant cake. It's so, it's iconic, but then let it do something. Let it actually be set up in a way where it can take advantage of that really nice move to where it can be a supportive mon that's either going to activate right away or be an aggressive mon that's going to activate right away, because it does get access to a bunch of things like the screens. And I think it would just be way more powerful if it had access to Prankster like you're suggesting, or if its speed was faster. And that's my biggest beef with it. I think that for what they created, and it's a really cool Pokemon, why not let it actually do what its special move was designed to do? Because it can be just as effective, like you were saying, in singles. But I feel like because of Decorate, it was designed to have a place in VGC and have a place in doubles, but I don't feel like it gets to live up to its full potential because of the fact that it is so slow.
Well, it is a dessert, so I think that it trying to move fast would be kind of funny.
I love that idea.
Maybe you do, but that thing hopping around would just be fucking hilarious to see it try and move fast. I'm just like, you're getting things everywhere. But I think that Prankster is a pretty good middle ground point, though, that if you really want to make a Pokemon meant for something, you got to give it the tools to do it, or else it's never going to be able to do anything realistically.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, I think that's like the point. That's my biggest beef.
Yeah, because all the Pokemon that you named have things that they do, but they're not really good at them. So it's kind of just like, what am I supposed to fucking do with this Pokemon? You know, like what am I supposed to do? It doesn't help me at all. And it's just kind of like, maybe we just shouldn't do this to these Pokemon that often. Maybe we should just make them good originally. But nah, it's kind of just like, if you're going to buff some, it's kind of like the Mega Salamence kind of analysis, or I like to call it the Mega Salamence theory, where a Pokemon will get a buff that it doesn't need, but everything else that came before it doesn't get the same treatment. Salamence gets a Mega form that it didn't need. It was already good in singles and doubles. You give it a Mega and now it's crazy good, gets banned from singles, and is good in doubles. Why is it like, it's like, people like to use it with Flygon. I use it with any Pokemon personally. Like, Flygon didn't get anything. It's just there. And maybe it should get things. I'm not the biggest Flygon enjoyer, but maybe it should get stat buffs and other things. I mean, for Christ's sake, it's a fun Pokemon. But it's like other Mons don't get that same treatment, and it's just like, I get that there's favoritism. I can see that, but like, man, can we direct some of that attention to like other Mons that deserve it?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, especially because, I mean, Pokemon like Butterfree and Rapidash, like I said, they've been around since we were playing Pokemon on Game Boy. Like, it is not, right? This game came out in the 90s, and we are now in the 2020s. Like, it's been a while, everybody. Like, Pokemon as a company has had plenty of time to have these discussions and make these adjustments, at least about the Gen 1 Pokemon. And I think that the bias that I really don't like about the way that Pokemon runs is, if a Pokemon is aesthetically cute, it has a much higher chance of being ineffective in competitive play. Like, and here's the thing, everybody. We all know this. You know someone who looks cute and sweet, but is like the craziest person on this planet, and you would never cross them because they will get you. So, like, come on, Pokemon. Just because you look cute on the outside doesn't mean you can't be hardcore and competitively aggressive or supportive. Like, but give Pokemon a fighting chance. I understand that there's going to be power rankings in different levels, but I really do feel like if you know that a Pokemon isn't performing well and you have another game coming out, like, take that as a chance to do a patch update or to do a rework between games, because just like how other video games will look at the meta and then they will try to balance, I don't feel like Pokemon does a good job of that with their older Pokemon. They'll create a new form, right? And they'll try to like redesign it. But if you create a new form that is just as ineffective as the previous one, why? Because you want to change the way that it looks because you're trying to make money if that's someone's favorite Pokemon. Like, are you trying to profit off of nostalgia? But it's like Butterfree could really be something, and so could Rapidash. And Alcremie could be a strong decorate supportive mon if it just had Prankster, like you were saying. So I just feel like, why aren't we taking the steps to let every Pokemon be able to be its fullest, right? And I know that there'll still be a balance between like the ultimate, you know, like stronger mons like legendaries and then some weaker mons. But why not let every Pokemon really achieve like the max of what it could be? And it would really shift the drafting format too, because then you would be really thinking of what Pokemon synergize the best, right? And so it's less of which Pokemon can I take a weaker stance on versus which Pokemon do I really want to have buffed, especially in the new meta that seems really aggressive. So I don't know. I think that these Pokemon could really be something with a buff.
Of course, I definitely agree with that. That's gonna do it for today, guys. I mean, honestly, this is a great episode back, so thank you, Haley, for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Obviously, you can't find Haley anywhere, but hey, one place you can try and find her is like,
Discord.
She's in Discord, she's in the TGR server with Pat. So You could be like, hey, good job on that video. You should definitely go ahead and say good job on that video with Avery or something. Or sub to Pat, which will inevitably get him to 1,000 at some point, which means he can make like $2 off of YouTube. See, that's the plan, that's the grind. I don't have that kind of influence, but I feel like I can have that influence. But thank you again for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Go check out Patrick at Gotta Draft 'Em All.
God damn it.
In the comments, make sure to tell us, what would you name the horn ability for Rapidash?
Why would you? Don't encourage these demons that are in my Anyways, thank you to my channel members, which will appear on the screen now. I took a screenshot this time, so I don't have to keep making graphics for it, but I took a screenshot. Thank you to everybody who watches. And yeah, I am back since this will go up. Today is Sunday when I'm recording, so this will go up next Sunday. And yeah, I'm back. Just had to move into this new townhouse, and of course had to adjust to life here because obviously, you know, we have neighbors that are interesting, and we have, you know, stuff to do because I'm employed. Thank you again to Haley. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.